All right, so you just wrapped up a season, softball, baseball, maybe a different summer event, summer 7v7, whatever the case is, right? We battled through some adversity. We built the grit, maybe even ended up a champion, you know? That'd be pretty cool. Or in the championship or whatever that far part was, or maybe it was heartbreak. And now you're lacing up for the next thing. Fall balls are rolling in. Maybe you got cross country, maybe football, maybe volleyball, you name it, golf, whatever it is that you're doing, or a fall club team. It's another sport. It's another teams, another coach. It's another rhythm, right? They're all new to a new sport, new team, new coach, new rhythm. Unless, of course, it's kind of a piggyback carryover from last time, but still, you get a long break. And the trap is that most of the times we hit reset and we're going into a new thing when we leave behind everything else that we have built mentally through the season. And that is where this biggest mistake comes in, the one that we're talking about here today. Because what if the best weapon in your new season was actually everything that you already lived, learned, and overcame through this last sport, this other sport of this last season? Now, this episode is going to be about showing how to transfer that mental growth from one sport into the next without forgetting about it, without just starting over, but building the momentum from it, carrying the momentum over, and having the seasons switch. Hey y'all, welcome to the Mental Performance Playbook, breaking down those elite mental strategies and delivering them in actionable exercises so we can apply them immediately. My name is Gabe Brummel, mental performance coach, founder of The Athlete's Health, and creator of our Noak Gym, our performance institute, where we are training your mind just like we train your body. Each week, we focus on a mental performance theme of the week that equips, helps the athletes or the coach or the parent with those practical tools, those exercises to build those stronger focus, resilience, confidence muscles, level up that mental game. And this week's theme is transitioning between seasons, a seasons switch. So without further ado, let's dive deep into transitioning between seasons. And right before we do this, I want to just drop this link here. If you are checking this out today, Monday, the day this is being dropped, July 14th, a couple more days here. We're putting out some merch, some t-shirts, sweatshirts, crew necks. A lot of people have been asking about them, so I'm getting an order in. This will be funny to come watch a year or two down the line when we have a lot more orders after things keep cooking and brewing and stirring and building up for TAH and you Titans here. But if you are interested, I'll put a link in the show notes below. Feel free to fill that out. I just want to get those athletes repping TAH, get the Titans showing that they have that Titan mentality and keep building up that mental game. And with that said, I mean, this next week, we at the office are going to be traveling a little bit, going to Colorado. I know it's a break between seasons, so it was a great time to drop this episode as softball, baseball club season was wrapping up. Maybe some showcases are happening, but I know this upcoming weekend is the first weekend that a lot don't have athletics. So let's get right into it. First and foremost that I want us to do is have a seasonal reflection debrief for our exercise number 1. Now, in all these today, water break, I don't have deliberate stories planned, but I am going to drop some stories on us. And this first thing is about debriefing what we did. We have to ask ourselves, what did we actually learn? Because most of the time, most athletes do not reflect, which means we never transfer, which means we never grow, right? If we're in the weight room, if we're training someone physically, we're going to see the areas that we should keep strengthening. And it's the same thing for our mental game here. We have to see the areas that we want to keep strengthening, but to do that, we have to actually reflect. We have to go back and look at the numbers and see it from the mental side because it ties right into the physical side, but it is just often overlooked. So I want us to implement this locker room replay. When the season ends, we can just sit down with a journal, voice a note, on your phone, just talk to that phone, talk to that robot, and answer just some of these questions. These aren't end all be all list, but these are just some questions that I came up with relatively quick here to have us implement and use and reflect on so we can reflect forward and go have more growth. But what adversity did I face this season? What habits made me better? What situations grew my resilience? What mindset shift helped me perform? If we go through this, the adversities, we see, okay, what challenges are we actually facing and which ones are we working on? If we look at the habits, what habits have I now built? Where did I get wins in this? And if I did not, if for some odd reason we can't find a single habit that we won from this season, now we know from reflecting that we need to build some habits up, situations that grew the resilience. I was just talking to someone about this the other day. The sweetest honey has the most bees and the vicious bees blocking it. That's why it's so sweet. But what situations actually improved the resilience is something else. And then the mindset shifts, right? We work on this a lot when we're working with teams or athletes, but how are we shifting the mental performance game, the mental game, the mindset to have an actual better performance outcome? Top 3 mental wins. Rank them. After going through that, we could probably have a little more understanding of what we were doing. So rank the top 3 mental wins. Maybe the top times that you held good under pressure and held your own. Maybe it's other times that you pushed pretty hard. Rank your top 3 mental wins. And if you want to get a little bonus on here, share them with a coach, a mentor, a teammate. Get some feedback on them. Reflect after every season. See what we can do better, see what we want to work on, right? Sometimes we do this and we don't always think about it, but if we can put our attention to it, we can get a lot better at it. And that will ultimately help out our overall performance. And I just feel like the story for this is if there's one part of your game that is lacking, but you don't really put the attention on it, it might get a little better, right? You're doing a few other drills to help it, right? Maybe it's your 3-point shot and you're doing other shooting drills and things to make it better. And so then maybe your 3-point shot is getting just a little bit better. But if we deliberately focus on the 3-point shot, now that will get better. Maybe it's going to be wonky and throw out the rest of the shots, right? So we have to work back with that form and hit all the things in it. And that's exactly what we're doing here with these questions, with everything else that we are looking at in this mental game and this first exercise of the seasonal reflection debrief. We need to make sure we're building the mental clarity and preparing our inner playbook for the next sport. Number 2 is the mental skills carryover map. And we got to look at where does all this apply now? All this stuff that we were learning, where does it apply now? Because the mental toughness, the mental calmness, the mental composure, it is not just sport specific. It is human specific. We use this in everything. You are going to become a better academic for it, a better school athlete, right? Student athlete. You're going to become better at that if we are working on the mental toughness and have this mental skills carryover map. So this is the skill to sport map. And we've already looked at the 3 mental wins, right? So we have the 3 mental wins that we're talking about already from the debrief above. Now, for each of those mental wins, we can ask, where is this skill going to show up in my next season? How can I apply it under a different pressure? How are these going to be transferred over there? Because they do. Okay. A lot of people like to talk about multi-sport athletes for the physical side of it. And I 100% agree with that. We do not want to kill down the body because of doing the same movement patterns whole year round. But it comes just as much mentally. What is something that we're going to learn from one season, and how's that skill that we developed going to show up in the next season and applying under pressure? How's it going to help under pressure, right? Maybe it is improving composure under pressure in football. How's that going to show up on the free throw line or in pitching or in baseball or softball when the ball is coming to you and it's you and you only? How is that going to show up when you're on the volleyball court or when you're swinging the golf club or when you're playing football? And then the ball comes to you again. How are these seen there? And how can we use these to produce and put ourselves moving forward? This builds the intentionality in transferring the skills across context. It allows us to actually see it, to see, okay, hey, we have not been taking a break from football. Maybe some of the physical skills we have, but ultimately, like mentally, we had no days off. we're ready to go. And that puts us in that hyper drive mode, in that mode that not a lot of people are on. So if you can do this, you're putting yourselves in a much better position, at least mentally, not mentally, can go a long way. So have this skill to sport map. I always remember when I was doing this, and I only talk about this now because I've seen a few kids who do the same thing. Only that maybe they do it there in football and not cross country. But I would always try and be the fastest on the basketball court, and it would tie right into track, or track would tie right into cross country, and that would go right into basketball because those are things that you can control, and those were the hustle plays. Those were the things that okay, I'm already doing all this stuff, making it hard, right? Running, just all you're doing is running in those sports. It's not much. So when you go and do killers on the basketball court, boom, 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 you're going. Those mental skills carry over because it's not just okay, I'm actually a little faster. It's the mental skills of, all right, I know how to push through this when it's hard and actually give it the all when people are tired and can't go as much. People may think you're fast and they got the quickness to you and got the twitchies. I'm talking to a few athletes I know right now, but it's also the game up here because all those athletes that I know that I'm talking to where they have it, the physical sign, I've seen it and I see their attention to me and I see in the messages that we're preaching and the skills we're teaching, it comes back to here first and foremost. That is what gets them to do the plyos 4 days of the week and do some hard workouts the other days. So build the intentionality and transfer them across the context, across the sports. The third piece I want us to think about is anchoring our identity and not just our role. And the best question I have for this for us to think about is who are you when the jersey changes, right? Sports change, positions change, but the athlete within does not have to. And this is a crucial third piece and just overall piece that we could spend a whole another episode on. But I want to just make sure we reflect and think about this one for at least a little bit here. I was more recently talking to a basketball player who does AU and school team. Their school team's really good. AU team, they finally are becoming a leader. They are taking charge. They're being highlights. They got it all. On the basketball team, their school team that's really good. They're still working on even just getting a role spot. AAU team, they are the role. They've made themselves the role. On the basketball team of school, they're trying to be a role. And so it is, who are we when the jersey changes? Not even just from sport to sport, but from club to team, from team to team. And it's, what can we do inside to keep ourselves the same? Who are we? And this comes back to our reflection and to what we are trying to do. So if we want to look at the athlete within and what we can do, what we are bringing, our traits, we can come back to at least this one exercise, right? I said we can really dive into this one, but we're going to stay a little surface level. We'll add this to the list to do later of this 3-word identity anchor. And this is what we do. We say, what are the 3 things that you can do? The 3 things that you bring every single time, the 3 words that describe you regardless of the sport. You got resilience, you got grittiness, you got focus, you got confident. I can handle the pressure, right? Goes on and on and on and on and on. I'm just a kind guy, like it depends on the person and on the traits because that can apply there. You can be a kind but killer guy on the court, right? Choose the 3 words that describe you regardless of the sport. Write them on your water bottle, your locker. I love to make vision boards with our athletes, put them on their home screen of their phone, that lock screen, wherever we can put these 3 words at. So we are seeing it. So we are reminding ourselves. So then when we are going to any practice, any game, we are constantly seeing it and reminding ourselves, all right, how can I show up with these 3 words today? Whether I am the role on the team, like I am the leader on the team, or I'm trying to find a role on the team and I'm more so on the back end, working my way up. How can we use these 3 words, those 3 traits, those 3 performance outcomes that we know that we can do ourselves, no matter what? That is anchoring in our identity and not just our role. So the last thing that I didn't cover on this yet that I just want to make sure I hit on before we move on is the emotional whiplash that can come from sport to sport, from identity to identity or role to role, right? Because if we separate identity and role, we can do all right because we can keep that identity. But if that identity and the role become one, well, then when our role changes, which we don't have as much control over, we're going to have that emotional whiplash. We're going to be on that roller coaster, but it's like one of the old wood roller coasters where it's just jolting you around like crazy. Yeah, that's that emotional whiplash. So we need to make sure, especially between sport and then just roll and roll, that the identity is separate and we know the three traits in this example that we can embark and be no matter what. So anchor in the identity and not just your role when we're going sport to sport. And then lastly, for our fourth one here today is the debrief and preview combo. And this one's pretty fun. I really do like this one because it's how do I start strong? Like, how can I? That's something we always want to do. The season's coming up. I need to start strong. I need to start strong. I need to be good when it gets going. I don't want to be scrambled around. I don't want to lose confidence right away. Right? We don't really have a mental preseason blueprint. We're just, okay, maybe I'll do this, this, and that. And I'm going to try that. Maybe we're even doing that. Maybe we're not. Maybe we're just putting up more shots, more swings, more routes, right? But if we can have a mental preseason blueprint, we can have a much better chance of setting ourselves up for success right away at the start instead of just being scrambled all over and falling down because we're scrambled and not as one. So we've talked about a couple things here, right? We know the lessons from the last season. We've been going over them. We are finding our identity and not the role, right? We have the map of kind of where everything's going. So we're putting this on top of three mental performance goals, mindset goals for the next sport. So maybe it's stay confident even when I'm not starting right away, because we might not be starting, but we're tailoring these from the lessons as well. And this blueprint, it's not just setting the goals, right? This is something that some mentors of mine that I've talked to, and more so business and finance mentors, right? But it all ties. See, this is for sports and life. It ties together. They were really harping on me of having rewards and consequences, right? So when we do this mental preseason blueprint of the debrief and preview combo, we want to have the rewards and consequences for staying at it. And we can want to at least lay out with this. So we have goal, reward, consequence. Stay confident even when I don't start right away. Reward. I am now playing good. We're going to see ourselves playing good. Maybe we have an external reward too of, all right, I'm going to go out to eat. My parents say, hey, can we go to this place? Because I actually did this stuff today. I know maybe it didn't even look like I did as much, but it probably did because you went out there and you were more confident. Consequence. If you do not stay confident, even when you don't start right away, well, one thing is your play is going to decrease, not just your playing time, but your actual play and performance outcome. It's going to decrease. It's not just, I'm not going to be confident anymore. That's not the consequence. The consequence is other things that are coming out of it. And we really, really want to stray away from those consequences just as much as we want to reach the reward of that specific goal. So if we're debriefing from those lessons and then previewing the future and having that be a combo of goal, reward, consequence, we can add on to this to build a daily or weekly habit to reinforce it. And if it's not sticking, then we have to go back and look and see what else can we be doing to make this happen. But we can use and plan to use proactive momentum and create it from the past things and not just reinventing and scrambling. That's one of the main takeaways from looking at the seasons switching and going from one sport to the next is use any and all momentum that we got from one sport, even if it feels like there's none, and boom, make it proactive, move it into the next one. So we're not scrambling and instead starting super strong. All right, let's recap the 4 traits, exercises that we covered here today to transition between season to season, to have that season switch, to start it strong, because it's not just about shifting gears physically, it's actually about carrying the mental growth and the mental momentum forward. So the first thing we talked about was reflecting deeply with that locker room replay, right? Look at some of those questions and some of the pieces that we know that we did good, and then map out the skills with the next season and the skill to sport map. right? Lay this out, see what's going to transfer over, and then find our identity and separate it from the role, especially as the role are going to be changing. Ideally, we've already done it. Listening to this for the first time, you might not have. So ideally, we do that now and stay rooted in those 3 words that are your identity and focus on those like no other. And then lastly, create the intentional growth with the mental performance or mental preseason blue book. You can have that goal, but have the reward next to it and the consequence next to it. So we really try and get that goal for the reward and to not have the consequence happen and keep seeing these every day. That was one thing I didn't say is see it every day. Otherwise, we will forget about it with all the other stimuli that are around us. So do not let your last season go to waste. Use it as a foundation. Please, please, please. Now, if you want to check out your own mental preseason blueprint, if you want a little help working it, training it, building it up, check us out at the Athlete's Health, TAH. Check out our Pronelic Gym, our Performance Institute, trying to walk you through this exact process and more, UTH Titans. Love you. Thank you for showing up. Do not start the next season hoping to find your rhythm. Train it and bring it there. If you want some of those t-shirts or any TAH merch, I want to get a few extra too, but fill out the form in the description below and I will get them to you. But thanks again for checking us out. My name is Gabe and I will see you next week. Peace.